Hello and welcome to this deep dive presentation on the use of the WasteWise Cities Tool data collection application, the WaCT DCA. This application was developed by David Newby Associates using Microsoft Excel. Data is primarily collected using paper forms and subsequently entered offline into this application. The application is designed as a user-friendly way of entering data in a consistent and controlled manner. It's forms-based, and the application undertakes partial validation of data entered at the time of data entry. Links to download the DCA are available on the WasteWise Cities web pages on both the UN Habitat web server and the rwm.global web server. A detailed guide is also downloadable. As indicated, the DCA is a Microsoft Excel application. When you open the Excel workbook, you will be presented with this sheet. It's very complex with macros and contains a full software application written in Visual Basic. To use it, it is necessary to configure Microsoft Excel's Trust Center on Windows and on a Mac enable all macros. Full details on how to configure Excel on Windows are included in an annex to the user guide. To enter the tool, simply click the menu button and you will see a main menu page. This has several color-coded areas: an area for configuring the survey, an area for entering household and non-household municipal solid waste generation, one for entering information on waste disposal, one for waste recovery and recycling, and on the right-hand side is a results panel with results updated live each time data is added or updated. The Documents panel is mainly used for downloading the user guide, and there is a panel with a button for sending messages to the support team. And finally, on the bottom right, a panel for final data validation and submission of data to the online system. Firstly, it is necessary to enter some basic configuration information. Click the Survey Configuration button. A very important first step is to enter the initial information required by the DCA. Enter the survey year, the year the data was collected, the survey city name and the country name, and then click the Save button. Once the year, city name and country name are entered, the survey can be registered on the rwm.global WasteWise Cities data server. Registration does not work on Apple Mac machines due to the limitations of the Excel VBA on Mac OS. Sometimes registration can also fail if the city name is not found in the online GeoNames database the server uses for validation. In this case, try variants of the city name. If that fails, contact support. The survey does not have to be registered at this stage, but it is required before data can be uploaded to the WasteWise Cities online database. All necessary data can be entered prior to registration if necessary. If proceeding with registration, click the Register this survey button to begin the process. The survey registration form is displayed. Enter your organization's details and your contact details. If the survey registration is successful, the server will reply with the other data needed by the DCA, including an authorization token. If unsuccessful, an error message will be displayed. If successful, the server will also send you an email with the registration summary and a user PIN number which you will need to keep a record of. The DCA will require this PIN number when you come to submit the data to the rwm.global WasteWise Cities data server. Click the Register Survey button to attempt registration. After successful registration, the DCA shows the survey ID, the city GeoName ID, and the survey year and city name can no longer be changed. The DCA has certain default values pre-configured, so-called proxy values, which are used for the percentage of residues and rejects from waste recovery operations, because recoverable materials may be handled or processed by two or more parties or organizations or facilities within the overall recovery system, each of which may generate residues or rejects. Therefore, this proxy is mandatory, but the default 10% can be changed. And there is also a default proxy for the percentage of municipal solid waste generated by non-household premises as a percentage of the total municipal solid waste generation. This defaults to 30%. Again, you can change this value if you have reason to suspect your city or country is particularly different. While you have to use the proxy for residues and rejects from recovery operations, you can choose not to use the proxy for non-household municipal waste and collect your own data. As always, click the Save button if you've made any changes on the current screen. Next, we enter the data necessary for the DCA to be able to extrapolate household waste generation. Click on the Household Settings tab and then enter the population statistics for data extrapolation. Enter the year that statistics were obtained for and the population for the 3 income levels. You will see 2 further settings. These are the minimum number of survey areas to be covered per income level and the minimum number of households to be covered in each survey area. These can be adjusted if inappropriate for your city. For example, with a mega city, we would recommend 5 survey areas per income level. With a small city, it might not be possible to identify 3 areas per income level, in which case use a lower number. When undertaking the final data validation, the DCA checks that these minima have been met. Always click the Save button before moving to the next tab or closing a form. Next, we need to enter similar data for non-household waste generation extrapolation. Click the Non-Household Settings tab, and here we configure non-household settings which are not necessary if you plan just to use the proxy percentage. If you are collecting your own data, then you should enter the total number of units for each type of premises in the city. And click Save, and then you can close the form. Next, we're going to configure our survey areas. Click the Survey Areas button, and to add a survey area, simply enter the name of the survey area, select an income level from the drop-down list, and click the Add Survey Area button. Repeat this for all survey areas to be covered. You will then have a form like this with all areas entered. You can edit survey area details simply by selecting a survey area, editing the data, and clicking the Save button. Click the Close button to return to the main menu. We're now ready to start entering information on our household waste generation. Click the Household Municipal Solid Waste Survey button. The households form is displayed. First, select an area and enter details of the first household to be surveyed and click the Add New Household button. Be sure to enter the number of residents. You can enter contact information if useful for household identification by the survey team. Household contact details are for local use only and never transmitted to the online server. Repeat this for all households in the selected survey area. Your form will then look like this. Again, household details can be edited by selecting a household, editing the data, and clicking the Save button. Repeat this for each survey area, and next we enter the quantities of waste generated by each household. We select a household and we click the Quantities tab. When a household is selected, we can enter details of waste generated. As has been explained, day 1 waste is discarded to ensure the first measured day of waste is for 1 day only. Click the Day 1 Waste Discarded checkbox to confirm that this has been done, if it has, and enter the daily quantities measured. Click the Save button and the application will calculate the average generation rate, kilograms per day per person, and compare it with World Bank Water Waste 2 dataset to see if the value falls within an expected range for that income level. A message warns the user if it does not. If the user thinks the data is valid, then tick the Valid checkbox and save again. So what results may be invalid? You may find that not all households participate effectively and find you have missing data. This is an example of invalid data. We have quantities for day 2 and day 3 only. Leave as invalid, don't click the valid checkbox. An unusually high value for day 2 quantity compared with other days may indicate that the day 1 waste was not actually discarded. Sometimes it isn't so easy to identify valid or invalid. Here, no waste is weighed for day 2 and day 3, but day 4 waste weighing is approximately 3 times as high as the average for the remaining 4 days. So maybe day 4 includes day 2 and day 3. Personally, I would assume that this data is probably valid. Some level of subjective judgment is often required. If in doubt, check with other team members. When an area is selected, but a household has not been selected, we can enter waste composition data. Click the Composition tab. We aim to collect a composite sample for each survey area and record the weight of each waste type. Record the weight of each fraction in the form and click Save. Repeat for each survey area. Click the Close button to return to the main menu. Once data has been entered for all households and composition data for all survey areas, we can see the estimated household waste generation in the results panel. We can also view a results summary. Click the Show Summary button. The results summary sheet shows us 4 pie charts, 3 of weighted average waste composition for each income level, and 1 for overall average composition. You can hover the cursor over pie slices to see values. The weighted average generation rate for each income level is also shown, along with the populations of each income level. Using those figures, the application estimates total household municipal solid waste per income level and gives us an estimate of the city total. Click Return to Menu button to go back to the main menu. Now we can move on to non-household municipal solid waste generation if we've decided to collect our own data rather than use the proxy. Click the Non-Household Municipal Solid Waste Survey button, and the overall process is simpler than for household municipal solid waste data entry. First, we select a survey area and a premises type and enter the data for premises. Make sure that you enter the number of relevant units, beds or students, etc. at the premises for extrapolation purposes and enter the daily quantity of municipal solid waste type wastes generated. If you are unsure of the validity of the data given, leave the valid checkbox empty and discuss it with your team. Click on Add as New button to add them to your list and repeat for all premises. Premises listed can be selected and data edited as necessary. Always click the Save button if data has been edited. As mentioned previously, contact details held in the DCA are for use by survey team only and never transmitted to the online system. Click Close when done, and we return back to the main menu. As before, we can view a summary of the data entered. The summary shows for each type of premises the unit used for extrapolation, the generation rate tons per unit per day, the total units in the city, and then the estimated city municipal solid waste generation. The pie chart shows the relative quantities by premises type, hovering over pie slices to see the values. Note that the amount according to the proxy, 30% if left at default, is shown for comparison. Click the Return to Menu button to return to the main menu. We can now enter municipal solid waste disposal information. Click the Disposal Facilities Data button, and the data entry form for disposal facilities is shown. As with previous forms, enter the detail for each disposal facility. Very importantly, enter the details for the largest facility first. That's the one that receives the largest quantity of waste from the survey city. Be sure to enter a name and enter the number of operating days per year. Choose the facility type from the drop-down list and select the level of control. Click the Add as New Facility button to add the facility to the list. Repeat for all facilities surveyed. Data entered can, as before, be edited and saved by selecting a facility on the list, editing the data, and clicking the Save button. When a facility has been selected, we can enter quantities information. Click the Municipal Solid Waste Quantities tab, and for each facility, enter the daily quantity received, the number of recoverable material pickers working on site, if any, and the approximate quantity each of them picks in a day for recovery, and click the Save button. Once quantities are entered for the facility, we can also click on the MSW Composition tab, and we aim to sample waste loads from one area for each income level received at the main disposal facility and record the compositions. Select the income level and enter the weight of each fraction. Click the Save button and repeat for each income level. After that's all done, we can click the Close button and go back to the main menu. The results panel is updated to show waste collection performance each time data is added or updated. Again, as previously, a summary is available by clicking the Summary button. And the summary sheet shows us 4 pie charts again, 3 of weighted average waste composition as received for disposal for each income level, and 1 for overall average composition. Hover the cursor over the pie slices to see the values. The total collected quantities are shown. The left-hand column shows collected quantities, and the right-hand column shows quantities collected and taken to controlled facilities. Click Return to Menu to go back to the main menu. And we can now enter data for municipal waste recovery facilities. As with previous forms, enter the data for each waste recovery facility, clicking Add New Facility to add each to the list. Be sure to enter the facility name and select from drop-down boxes facility type, control level. Click Add New Facility and repeat for all facilities. Optional data that can be entered includes contact information and the percentage of materials received from the informal collection system and the percentage market share claimed by the facility operator and the claimed capacity. As before, we can select a facility, edit the data, and click Save to update. With selected facilities, we can enter details about waste inputs to each on the Inputs tab. To add an input, select the resource material type from the drop-down list, choose the source type. You may choose or create a source if you wish. You must choose the city from which the input is being received. It may or may not be the survey city. Cities can be added if not listed by clicking on the plus button next to the drop-down box. Enter the daily quantity received and specify whether this input is at the point of entry to the overall recovery system. The system can also be used to record non-municipal waste type inputs to the recovery facilities. Tick this box if this material is not a municipal solid waste type. The DCA model only includes in its calculations recoverable materials received, i.e. those that are from the survey city, received at a point of entry, and are municipal solid waste type materials. As previously, records can be amended by selecting an input material and editing its data and clicking Save. The Outputs and Residues Rejects tabs are disabled in the WaCT DCA as it solely uses the percentage proxy. Click the Close button to return to the menu. As indicated, the WaCT methodology mandates the use of proxy for rejects and residues, therefore the outputs, i.e. products, are 100% less than the proxy of inputs. We're back at our main menu page. The results panel shows the results updated, the collection percent values, and the city recovery rate are updated each time data is entered. As we're used to seeing, a summary is available. This one can be very useful from a planning and strategy development viewpoint. It displays the tons per day quantity of each category of recoverable material that is received into the recovery system. The pie chart shows the relative quantities by type. Hovering on a pie chart slice, you can see the values, and it shows opportunities. Using the data on waste compositions, it estimates the total quantities of recoverable materials generated each day, indicating where a strategy to increase recovery performance might best focus. Comparing these values with the actual collected values, we can see potential opportunities. Click Return to Menu button to return to the main menu. We've seen several ways in which the DCA presents results. With the live updating of the results panel and the various summary screens shown already, the DCA can also present results in other ways. It can show a material flow and a performance dashboard and a city fact sheet. Click on the flow diagram button to see a diagrammatic representation of the flow of waste. This diagram shows the estimated flows of waste from generation to recovery and final disposal. It shows the estimated quantity of uncollected waste which may be ending up somewhere in the environment. It also presents the collection performance, including the UN Habitat SDG 11.6.1 indicator. The generation of food waste per capita and the estimated city recovery rate is also displayed. Click on the Return to Menu button to return to the main menu, and we can click on a Dashboard button to see a performance dashboard. The dashboard shows the municipal solid waste collection performance. The higher, the better. It also shows the waste generation rates by income level and average. The lower, the better. Compares these with the low and high figures according to the World Bank Water Waste 2 dataset. Click on the Return to Menu button to see a return to the main menu. And finally, we can click on the Fact Sheet button to see an automatically generated Wastewise Cities fact sheet. Click on the Application Worksheet tab to return to the main menu. On the Data Management section, there is a Validate Data button, which pops up a form for running the final data validation routine. This is also used by the data submission routine, so it will be covered in that context. The DCA is designed to submit data to the WaCT data server on the rwm.global portal. Click the Submit Data to Wastewise Cities button to start. And once the data entry is complete, we'll be able to click the Start button to commence the validation. The application checks that data entry is complete and that the required number of areas and households have been covered. If there are any issues detected, these will be identified on the right-hand side, enabling users to exit and go back and check the data. If the data validates OK, then a Send to Server button is enabled. Click the Send to Server button and the following form appears. In order to submit data, the survey DCA must have been registered as presented earlier. On registration, a PIN number will have been supplied to the email address given. This must be entered here along with the email address used during registration. It's recommended that users discuss the results with their national or regional line ministry, if such exists, and with their National Statistics Office. This is not mandatory, but click the relevant checkboxes if this has been done. The submitted data is aggregate only. No personal data, contact information and so on is transmitted. This aggregate data may be displayed on the Wastewise Cities web pages of both the UN Habitat web server and the rwm.global web server. Agreement to this is required in order for the data to be submitted. Click Start Submission button to attempt the submission of the data to the server, and the server will respond with OK or an error message if the submission fails. Well, thank you very much for your time. I hope you found this presentation useful. It's been a great pleasure to present it.